Hello, friends and family. This is the penultimate episode of Family Time for this school year, meaning it's our second to last of the year, and the last one I always do sort of a final lesson, sort of fare thee well to our graduating seniors. So this is kind of our last Family Time proper for this school year. Our 144th official family time that we've done. And we're talking about the greater good. This falls under responsible decision making and ethical responsibility. And I want us considering what contributes to the greater good, whether the greater good is important, and how we take responsibility for our actions. So first let's talk about the greater good. The greater good, we've talked about it before, is sort of the idea of acting altruistically. Doing good for good's sake, not because we expect to get something in return. And we always get something, I think, we always receive something positive when we do good. We put good into the world, even if we do it sort of anonymously. I think we are rewarded for that, even if it's just in our own sense of satisfaction of having done something worthwhile. But being altruistic means that that's not the goal. We're doing good because we think it's right and true. And contributing to the greater good is that idea that the high tide raises all ships, that if we're doing good for a larger group, the larger community, the world, whatever, that it's going to be better for everyone. So I want you thinking about that, what the greater good means to you, what it looks like to you. And I want you to think about the idea of sacrifice. Is sacrifice necessary for success? And is it necessary for the greater good? I'll go ahead and say I would argue that sacrifice is maybe the most important factor of success in any endeavor, however you want to measure success. That's always the question I try to ask myself. It's something that I try to encourage all of you to consider is spend the time to think about what you really want. And to our seniors who are about to graduate and move on to the next stage of their life, whatever it is, that's something we have to continually ask ourselves. What do you really want? Not what other people tell you you should want. Not what you've been programmed to want by images that you see or by family pressure or whatever it is, but what do you really want? Then I think the next question after that should be, what are you willing to give up to get that thing? Because that's what it's all about. There is always a price to pay for absolutely everything. And you have to decide you have to identify what that price is, and then you have to decide if you're willing to pay it. And sometimes there's going to be situations where maybe you're not. Maybe you don't want to put in the time or the effort or the struggle that it's going to take to get that thing. But then you have to adjust. You have to create a new picture and establish a new goal. But if you find the things you really care about, the things you really want to do, then you have to pay the price. You have to recognize what things you need to give up to get that thing, because that's the trade-off. And a lot of people want it all. They want to have all their hopes and dreams come true, but they don't want to sacrifice other aspects of their life. They don't want to give anything up to get it. And that's just very rarely possible. So I consider that. And I want you to consider the possible setbacks, sort of all within the framework of contributing to the greater good, of trying to do good. what are the potential setbacks or the potential consequences of placing blame on other people or on situations? And on the flip side of that, what's the potential benefit of just taking responsibility for your actions? I think that's what it really comes down to. Is I think there's a lot of upside to taking responsibility, taking 100% responsibility, even for things that aren't your fault. And there are definitely, I'm not saying that you need to blame yourself for everything. Not at all. There are many, many things in life that are out of our control. But we can either curse those things, blame the situation, blame other people for our challenges and for coming up short. Very easy to do that. Or we can take total radical responsibility for our part in the situation. Even if it was just a fluke thing out of our control, we can take responsibility for the things we can control, for the way we respond, for the next action we're going to take. I think there's so much upside to that because it eliminates all the negative thought, all the things that hold us back, that get in the way, that aren't necessary, that aren't helpful. Sometimes it's the best thing we can do, is just cut the dead weight, and that makes it so much easier to move forward. And I just don't think there's ever a lot of good on placing blame. It maybe in the moment makes us feel a little bit better. We have a place to put our anger, a place to put our frustration, but it doesn't fix anything. And when we're talking about the greater good, I think that starts with the individual. It starts with you. And when we can take responsibility for the things we can control, we can let go of the things that we're not able to control, when we can build our lives in a way where we're dedicated to elevating others, I think that's a pretty good path to find a sense of peace and joy in life. So we're going to talk about that this week and kind of wrap up our regular family time activities for this school year. We'll have one more next week, but it's sort of centered on the seniors. And then we'll do this all again next year. Until next time, much love.